I saw so many people that didn't see themselves represented, younger people coming through the ranks thinking that they had to act a certain way, be a certain person to succeed. And, I think, part of me coming out was to show them actually, you don't. No one wants to fail. No one wants to lose. And I think as athletes, we put so much pressure on ourselves to do well all the time. I think before I swim a 200 butterfly at competition, I've swum it 100 times in my head already, and that already helps my nerves, my pressure, I think I just love challenging myself. Like I knew I was different, but, I wanted to break more stereotypes out the water, and I used to go into school at the age of 11, 12 with my national medals and feel like I had to show them off to show people that I was good enough.
Michael, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. I say this for every guest, but I just have this deep sense of gratitude because every single one of you trusts me. Well, I hope you do.
Yeah.
And you give up your time. And I just know that this conversation is going to be, one, very close to my heart, and two, I think wholesome. So thank you.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. I think as soon as we met, we clicked instantly, and just two very genuine, authentic people. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, always. You have such an incredible, this is my opinion, by the way, from the outside, because I didn't experience it, incredible career. And I always love getting into like the mindset of, I want to say professionals, but definitely professional athletes, because I think it takes a certain mindset to perform at a certain level. Is that fair?
Oh, no, definitely. I think swimming especially, I'm normally in the water 25 hours a week. So I think it's such a big commitment, and obviously loads of different competitions to prepare for. I think for me, going to my first World Championships, no one prepares you for a World Championships, like no one prepares you for that experience, that audience. And yeah, it's a very big commitment, but also incredible journey. I've really loved every second of it.
We are going to delve into so many different parts. I feel like I'm not even going to do this in any order, okay? We're just going to go for it. Let's take it back to you growing up as a young boy, right? You're mixed race, so already from here, I feel like today I've recorded a few episodes. I've talked about race and culture a lot, okay? So we're here for it.
Yeah, it's a part of who we are, right? It's such a big topic and important topic. And, just representation. I think now the society we live in, representation is so important. So we've got to keep talking about it.
And also on that note, when you talk about the representation, I think we're at a stage in life or in the world where we've gone through the phase, let's just put it really black and white, where you've got mixed race couples, so a black person and a white person together. And now I feel like we're the product of that era where when I was growing up, there was very few people that I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm aspiring to.
Yeah.
And I said it earlier on a different episode. I went to learn the piano because I wanted to be Alicia Keys.
Okay.
But that was a role model, a female mixed race role model that I looked up to and was like, oh my God, great, I can do that. So what was it like when you think back to your early childhood and growing up?
Yeah, I think I was very different. Growing up in Kent, there wasn't really many mixed race people in my school, and already I felt very different. And I think taking it back before kind of that, and when I was younger, my parents, my mum's British, my dad's Jamaican, and I remember there being a lot of people talking about them being together and that they'd never last, and now they're married for 40 odd years, and I think even my grandparents quite struggled to understand them being together, and kind of gave my mum lots of different ultimatums. And now, my grandparents, I absolutely love my grandparents. They love me. And I just think it shows you, mindset wise, what it used to be like and how far we've come. But I think, especially learning to swim, there was nobody who looked like me. There was nobody who acted like me. I was always a bundle of energy, and I always felt like I almost shouldn't be there. In swimming and just doing what I loved, I felt like there was not many role models that I had that I could almost envision to be like. So yeah, that was hard.
At what age did you find swimming? At what point did you either really get into it as a kid, or did you realize, damn, I'm good at this?
Yeah, so I think about 12.
Okay.
My parents kind of pushed me into learning to swim just for the skill, just so water safety. It was too cold. I didn't really like it at first, to be totally honest. But I think I just loved challenging myself. I knew I was different, but, I wanted to break more stereotypes out the water, and I used to go into school at the age of 11, 12 with my national medals and feel like I had to show them off to show people that I was good enough, that I did deserve to be there. And I think it was, age 12 that I kind of got 7 national times that I realised I'm quite good here.
At that point, there's like 3 questions in one I want to ask you now. So let's take it here and I'll come back to the others. At that point, when you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm pretty good. Did any part of your brain or like vision fast forward and be like, oh, this could be something big here?
No point did I ever think that. I think I was always just doing what I loved, and I never even dreamed to, go and represent my country. It was always, how good can I be? Let's see if I can win that gold medal at, counties or nationals and internationals. So for me, I never really expected anything. I just trained so hard and obviously got the results that I did. So it's amazing really looking back.
I always ask, because I've had a few incredible athletes sit on the couch, and a really common theme for each of you is that none of you planned it, and none of you, and I'm only judging like the people I've spoken to, but nobody sat here and been like, yeah, Mira, I really wanted to represent my country. And not because they didn't, but that it just kind of fell into place, and that you all have done something that you either were good at or you found to love.
Yeah, I think, looking back, actually, you have these different goals and you have these, I would love to get to here and win that medal. But I think, especially sport, you've got to live in the moment. You've got to train hard and do what you're doing at that moment in time, whether it's nutrition, psychology, everything just molds into one. And sometimes when you think too much about the outcome, it just, you're not really living in the current moment. So you miss those vital training moments. So, and I think, I used to love so many different sports, but I think swimming made me choose that if I want to do this, I need to be injury free. I have to commit to swimming, and that's what I've done.
I love that. When you go back and you said you'd walk into school and you'd have your like 7 national medal and your titles, and you're like, yes, I'm going to show this off. Like, I deserve to be here. Do you have like an early memory of like not fitting in or being different?
Yeah, I think I remember coming into school late because we used to train before school. Used to be up at 4 a.m, kind of get into the pool at 5:30, being in there for 2 hours and then heading straight to school. And I just remember coming in smelling of chlorine, and that was just my scent. And everyone knew I'd arrived in the building. And just, almost just feeling isolated already, because no one could understand why I was getting up before school and swimming again after school. And I don't think it's something you can really explain. I think when you love what you do, when you're good at it, I think, it's just that inner drive, like so many people know because they're so good at what they do, but, it takes commitment. And, I knew it back then, and I just don't think many people could understand why I was doing what I was doing.
I think that's such an important insight as well, because recently I was watching the Bolt documentary on Netflix, and I'm like obsessed with all of you guys as athletes, because my brother's a runner, so I feel like we've grown up in our house with, some form of athletics always being on the TV.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge part of like our family dynamic. So I love speaking to you guys because I just really want to hear your insight. But it's true when you say that dedication and that commitment, which people don't see as well. Being a young kid as well, it's like a key thing to make you stand out. Is odd as well. It's like, well, why would you do that? What's that serving you? What is that beneficial for? And it just reminded me of the Bolt documentary as well, in terms of I remember as well when he got to the point where he's like, I'm done now. I'm done. Like, this is it. Because you forget, like from an outside point of view, what went in to get him there, and the sacrifice of like life. And that doesn't mean you're not enjoying it. That sounded so somber, and I didn't mean it to.
Yeah, no, I think, it's very important to see how far you've come, and I think actually all the medals that I've won, all the key moments, I think back to the journey that I've been on, that I've enjoyed traveling around with the team. I think, the pandemic definitely taught us the value of having that one-on-one contact with everyone, like swimming is an individual sport, but I very much disagree with that as well, because I wouldn't be where I am today without my teammates and, going through that together. And ultimately being superhuman, that's what I see it like. I feel like we're very different breeds, and no one will be able to understand the bubble unless you're in it.
That is so true. I'm like just desperately trying to understand. What do you think were some of the like key skills or even lessons that you learned, like growing up in those early years of training, that became like fundamental for like you and how sometimes I get so cautious using this word, but how you became successful?
Yeah, I think, determination's got to be there. I think, automatically swimming and obviously prioritizing swimming. I still had to get my homework done. I kind of got a university degree as well before the World Championships. And, I feel like it just teaches you so much discipline and hard work and, kind of getting success, whether it's, even if I stopped swimming earlier on, like I still feel like I still would have been successful in whatever I do because of the lessons that swimming's taught me, really.
I love that. I'm in awe that you did world champs and a degree. What were you studying for at the time?
Yeah, I was actually studying early childhood studies. So it was always my dream to kind of be a school teacher and just give back, because I did love my school years. But yeah, it's something that I'm so passionate about. And even though I'm not doing it now, I'm not going to write it off forever in the future.
We are here for this, okay? Like, to be continued. So at what age did you first represent, I was going to say the country, but you've got dual nationality. So you represented two.
I feel very fortunate that I've actually been able to represent both of my dual nationalities. I represented Great Britain for 10 years, and I started in, I don't even remember when I first got selected for a team, but it was for an open water, 10K open water. I had no idea what I was signing up to at the time, honestly. It was quite brutal. But yeah, and then ended up representing Team Jamaica for 6 years. So very fortunate that I've got to have those experiences. Absolutely
incredible. And also, as you're sitting here in front of me, I have to really ground myself in terms of when I say like you're a swimmer. And the reason being is when you say that like mum and dad used to take you to the pool in the beginning and you didn't enjoy it and it was just a skill. And I remember really similar reason. That's why I learned to swim, and that is it. That's as far as it went. I can confirm.
Yeah.
But just in the little time that I like learned to swim, how hard it was. And I was good as a kid at most things, right? So the fact I struggled at something was like, oh, what? But then you describing a 10K open water, like my brain can only think of 10Ks in terms of a track.
Yeah.
So for you to say you swam 10K open water, like I cannot actually compute that. And like, I'm going to say the brutalness of it, but I guess like the challenge of it is a better way to describe it.
Yeah, I think it has so much to do with mental. I think even learning to swim, it's such a hard skill, and, you've got to get from one side of the pool to the other by using lots of different muscle groups. It's not like, running where you might not use, certain muscles in your back. I think with swimming, you use so many muscles. And if you don't think you can do it, then you'll start to sink. I think if you're not switching on every single, body muscle, you will start to sink. So I think it's so good mentally for you and physically. But yeah, it's just a very, very incredible skill to have.
And am I right that your speciality is butterfly 200 meters?
Yeah, look at these shoulders, of course.
Can I just say that you have an incredible physique? I was also looking at your magazine cover and I was like, Michael, incredible.
Thank
so I
you.
have fully taken that in. I'm going to admit that.
I think that was literally in my prime. And, I retired from swimming last year, which, now I feel like I'm actually in the worst kind of body shape of my life, and it's so hard to comprehend because I'm not swimming 25 hours in the water doing 4 gym sessions, and it's so hard, that transition. But yeah, I loved all the different opportunities that I got when I was a swimmer, and just I guess I'm excited to see what's next.
So before we even think about in terms of like where you're at now, there's definitely been challenges along the way in terms of your professional career. And by the way, correct anything I say, that's wrong. But from like a cultural point of view, and also when you got to the point where you decided, I'm going to come out. And I don't know if that's how it went through your head at all, but when that happened.
Yeah, I think, everyone's journey is very different. And for me, I knew from about 13, 14 that I was attracted to men or to boys. And I suppressed that feeling. I pushed it deep down inside to a point where even when I met people who were super attractive, like I never felt anything. And I think that's something I really want to try and change now, because no one should have to suppress, their true self. No one should have to suppress who they are. And for so many years, I felt like I couldn't be gay and be in sport because I didn't want people to see me as weak, didn't want people to see me as different. So yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself kind of growing up, where my mental health was really bad. And it was actually the Manchester Arena bombing that happened with Ariana Grande that I was at with my best friend Harry, that, you know, in that moment we ran with everyone else, and there was people that were screaming, there was people that couldn't find their parents, and, you know, I pride myself in being really authentic, and I help as many people as I possibly can and just give so much light to everyone. But in that moment, I ran. And, you know, I think that regret and that guilt was kind of eating me up inside when I was training. And suddenly my training went from doing the most incredible sets to I didn't even want to turn up anymore. And I missed the Commonwealth Games team in the Gold Coast, which I was, you know, I got all the qualifying times for, but didn't end up getting selected. And, you know, I had a summer off, and I thought, you know what, this is a summer that I can help, give back, but just be my true authentic self. And I actually done it on a TV show, which, wow, what an experience. I have no regrets, but you know what? I just didn't want to have to sit down with everyone and say, this is who I am, I'm gay. So I just done it on a television show on Channel E, and yeah, I came back and carried on with my life.
I love that. Like, guys, I'm making an announcement. Everybody knows, and then I don't have to follow up with you all, okay?
Yeah, honestly, it was such a liberating experience because, you know, being with like-minded people in a villa, it was like a dating show, so we went on a couple of dates, and you know, I'd never been on a date with a girl, never been on a date with a guy before, so it was nice to do both of that and just, you know, hold my hands up and say, look, actually, this is how I'm feeling, this is me, and yeah, it was such a great experience.
And acknowledging as well, right? Like, this is how I feel in this moment. Do you think that because, like, thinking back to perhaps like the 13-year-old version of you, where you knew actually how you felt, but you were suppressing it, do you think that had then led to you not dating? Or do you think it was like the pressure of like you focusing on your career or your swimming career?
Yeah, I think with my identity, I wanted to be known as the swimmer. You know, I didn't want to be seen as that gay boy or, you know, just being different. And I love swimming, that I was more than happy to, you know, have my identity known as the swimmer. You know, little secret, but like I used to write in my homework, you know, Michael Gunning, the swimmer, in brackets at the bottom, and that's what I'd done. I didn't want I didn't want people to just call me anything else, and I was so proud of that identity. And, you know, being totally honest, I was a little bit in denial of my sexuality. I really thought that I would change. You know, I've kind of grown up thinking that I want a wife and kids, and just, you know, I want my own kids, and I felt like I couldn't quite comprehend that, you know, that might not happen to me. And I was just almost praying that I would change.
It makes me like so sad hearing it, because I don't have your experience, and there's nothing that I'm going to like try and compare to it. But when it comes down to authenticity and suppressing, it's actually really hard work. And I think, and this is not me talking about you necessarily, but I'm doing it more from my experience, is that you get really good at wearing masks.
Yeah.
And you just start swapping them out for like different ones, depending on the environment you're in, the people you're with. And to get to a space where you're able to be like, hey, world, like, this is me, take it or leave it, but I'm okay with it, I think takes a growth and a hell of a lot of vulnerability when it's not something that you've done from a very young age.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to put on that professional athlete mask and think that that is the way you should be. But, you know, I saw so many people that didn't see themselves represented, you know, younger people coming through the ranks thinking that they had to act a certain way, be a certain person to succeed. And, you know, I think, you know, part of me coming out was to show them actually, you know, you can be, you know, mixed race, you can be gay, you can be a different shape or size to everyone else. Like, you can still go and achieve what you really want to go and achieve. And yeah, hopefully I do that you know, I'm inspiring people every day.
I love that. Do you thinking like about your journey and the fact of where you're at now when it comes to your sexuality, the fact you announced it on Channel E, would you say that you're in your space where you found your true self? I think that's a good way of asking the question.
100%. Yeah, I can finally, you know, when I retired last year, I was going out to competitions, waving, interacting with the crowd rather than kind of being that macho, straight-faced person that you think that an athlete should be. Actually, I was just embracing it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And actually last year as well, just before like the Commonwealth Games, I went out to Jamaica with Tom Daley to film a documentary, which was the first time that I'd went out to Jamaica since coming out as gay. And I was so nervous, and I think we both were, because I'm quite known in Jamaica. Tom's obviously known everywhere, and I think we was a little bit worried about our safety. But actually, there is a community out in Jamaica, you know, despite the criminalating laws and, you know, the hard legislation that's in place. Like, I feel like I'm just really trying to make a difference and get rid of all those laws in place that's around the Commonwealth countries and around the world, and just make a difference.
And I think that's important, because I think I read an article about you, not a random one, talking about the stats in terms of how many countries still compete in the Commonwealth Games where it's like illegal, and you can't.
35 countries out of 56 countries, it's still illegal to be gay in those countries, which is just an absolute shocking statistic. Like, it really is. And, you know, I think people again push it under the carpet, and, you know, I've always tried to be as authentic as I can, and I think no one really asked me my sexuality in Jamaica. They just assumed that I'd be straight and probably a bit camp, and you know, but I think actually since coming out, loads of people have said, actually, you know, we like you, you're amazing, you know, we love you as a person, but we don't like other gay people. And I think it's just changing that, because actually everyone's incredible, everyone's nice, but it's just been, you know, in their minds for so long through heritage, and you know, it's really hard to change that mindset. So I think that's where I try and come in and just show that, you know, it's okay to be different.
I really love that as well, because it's interesting when you hear somebody say, oh, we like you, you just don't like other gay people. And it's really similar when you say, oh, I like you, you're black, but I just don't like those people. Whatever word you want to insert, right? You can insert a million different ones. And I think that you're right in terms of around education and shifting, and certain things have been instilled for generations, and shifting that, I can say, takes time, like as long as it takes, but it is possible. But also, I think as well, get into a space where we can see each other for being human. Like, if you don't like somebody, you don't like something about them, is because of like a characteristic of them in terms of like their personality versus the color of the skin, the color of their hair. Like, if you don't like someone, cool, but there's probably a personality trait as to why you don't like them, opposed to who they like.
No, it's
right?
true.
And it's such a shift. And I think the fact that I feel that you're on this mission to really shift in terms of, I feel like there's probably 3 key areas that you're shifting, but tell me if these are wrong. One is around in terms of legislation and law around countries being homophobic, if I can put it that broadly, and also diversifying sports for young black kids.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Definitely.
And then I don't know what the third pillar was that I had in my head, but I had a third one. There was a third area that I was like, yeah, also this. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, we've all got a skill and something to give back. And I think, you know, that is the magic of sport, that we've got a bit of a platform to help inspire others. So I'm definitely embracing that. And yeah, as well, 95% of black adults and 80% of black children can't swim in the UK. So I think one of my missions as well is to get more people swimming, you know, able to swim 25 meters by the time they leave school, no matter what color you are, you know, no matter what shape and size you are. I think it's such an incredible skill to have. So hopefully we can merge all of those different issues and conquer the world.
So I think that stat is like incredibly high. I'm not even sure that I knew that either. How are you gonna try and change it? What are you gonna do?
I am going to make swimming accessible for everyone. So I can't say too much about some things that I've got planned, but I'm definitely going to travel the UK and just make sure that a swimming pool is accessible to the people that might not be able to afford it, might be too far for people. And, you know, everyone goes to school. Everyone should have access to that at a school, you know, to a swimming pool. So yeah, watch your space.
I'm very excited, very, very excited. And in terms of when we talk about shifting legislation, when you say that to me, I'm like, whew, big task.
Yeah, very big task. And, you know, I think in sport, you know, I really worked with the Commonwealth Pride Network last year, which was incredible. And we made a safe space for all athletes and spectators in the Birmingham Village last year, and hopefully all the Commonwealth Games in the future to have a Pride House, to have that safe space where if you're an ally, if you're part of the community, you can have those open conversations, you can see yourself represented. So that was great, and I feel like we've done such a good job with that. So I guess I just want to keep doing that at future competitions and sporting events, but also me traveling to different governments and having these conversations. I think there's so many topics right now that is really tough. Even I have to do more education to understand, you know, the trans community is really going through it at the minute. And, you know, I want to be the best ally and person I can be to help them out. I know it's not a simple straight line. It's, you know, everyone's journey is different, but yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to help others.
It's so important as well though. And I think I like when you say, yeah, whether it's traveling and having the conversations, whether it's being there present, and that it's not a straight line. And also, I guess part of the magic is, I wasn't expecting like a business plan either, right? Part of the magic is knowing that that's your intention and that's your mission, and knowing that like you're going to do it. And sometimes it's just one, like just start with one thing, and that one thing opens another conversation or another door. But I feel like you are so clear on this mission and this vision, and I'm so excited to see it like evolve. And I do feel that from I guess where we're at in the world as well, like there's a real shift. And it's interesting as well to hear you now when, we talk about the trans community, and I definitely feel that that's different for them and what they're experiencing right now. And it's so interesting because I feel like not that long ago, it was definitely the same for gay people coming out.
Yeah, I think everyone's on a journey and everyone has barriers, and I think it's just down to us to help change those barriers, get rid of those barriers, you know. And I think I'm so lucky to be in, you know, for example, I got nominated for Sports Personality at the British LGBT Awards, and, you know, I do all of this stuff just to help, not for recognition, and, you know, to be kind of brushing shoulders with like Alex Scott and some incredible like Leah Williamson, like good friends of mine as well. I'm just so proud that we can just dominate the space and just, you know, whilst being our authentic selves.
Yes. I'm so here for it. When we look back, or when you look back, not me because I wasn't there, I don't know why I had to put myself in that. When you look back at your career as a swimmer, what were some of like the hardest moments that really stand out for you?
I think failure. You know, I think no one wants to fail, no one wants to lose. And I think as athletes we put so much pressure on ourselves to do well all the time. You know, I think I had 3 years where I plateaued, where my times didn't get any faster. And I think that's the point where lots of athletes stop and quit and give up and, you know, pursue other dreams. But, you know, for me, I stuck at it, and, you know, I wanted to just see what legacy I could leave in the pool. And, you know, I think sometimes there's been some very dark places that I've been in sport where I feel like everything's caving in on me, and just that I will never get back to where I was, but you've got to keep the faith, but enjoy the journey. I feel like, you know, we so often look at our goals and what we want to achieve that we forget about where we are right now. And, you know, I remember being on a training camp in Australia thinking I had an awful set in that morning. I wasn't hitting my times. And I was like, I'm in Australia. Like, I should be looking around, and I should be, you know, yes, that's a bad session, but I've got another one tonight, you know, let's look ahead to that. And sometimes you can just get caught up in the moment of, you know, dwelling on a bad set you've done. And for me as well, like going to competitions and not letting those dark thoughts come into your mind of, I remember that bad set, I remember those few days I had off that I was ill. Like, you know, you can't do that. You've just got to keep positive.
Your brain is so powerful, right? And we're wired to think negatively. And I say to my clients as well, like, it's not something bad that's happening to you. Every single one of us has the programming of those negative thoughts, right? But as an athlete, when you are performing, and you have to perform like on cue, then it is about being able to like manage that dialogue and manage that talk. And the brain is so powerful because it's going to remember the time you were sick or the time you did those bad sets. And I think that going back to when you said, wait, it had to reshift and say, hey, I'm in Australia. Actually, okay, yeah, that was a bad set. This whole day isn't bad. Yeah. And I think that when you say something, I think that lately I've had to really probably be reminded of as well, is that going through those hard times, or like when you were in your 3-year period where you're plateauing, okay, yeah, are you going to quit? And are you going to, like, if it's a good thing for you, then cool, go for it. But otherwise, no. Yeah. And what do you do to sit in that space? Because I think one of the harder things as humans to do, athlete or not, is to sit in the like those hard, difficult times when it's relentless or when it feels relentless and there's no let up.
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. I think, like I said, you feel like the walls are caving in on you. And I think I felt it this year, like having retired, kind of coming into a brand new year. Normally, I've got my competition set out. I know my training. I know what I want from the year. This is kind of the first year where I know what I want, with all the different issues that I'm trying to battle and to overcome. But it's not just a straightforward thing, it's things might not go your way. You might have ups and downs, but that's okay. And I say this now, a month ago, I was crying thinking, oh my goodness, I should have carried on swimming. Like, have I made the right decision? But, I think opportunities will come, and you've just got to, when you're down, use the people around you and in sport to kind of help you build up and just stay happy.
I am so like, yes, let's talk about this, right? Because that transition, you've been swimming, let's just say your whole life. That's fair, right? Your whole entire life. And you've only just retired. Yeah. When did you actually announce? I know last year, but...
Yeah, May time last year.
Okay, so it's not even been 12 months, right? So you're in this transitional stage where you're coming away from, let's also say to some degree, your identity. From the time you used to sign Michael the swimmer, so deeply ingrained in like, this is who I am, to step away from the thing that probably gives you a sense of worth and value, to transition into, yes, I'm going to say a beautiful new chapter, because yes, there's so much space for like new things and you're going to welcome things in. And without that space, this is a long time of me having to learn this lesson, by the way, but having to like create the space so you can welcome the new things in. How has this transition been since you've, stopped the 25 hours of swimming a week and I guess don't have that identity anymore? In the same way, at least.
Yeah, I think, I was very lucky that I retired in May. The Commonwealth Games in Birmingham was coming up that I was still kind of doing different things for. And, someone asked me what would I love to do at Birmingham. And I said, I'd love to be in the swimming pool with the athletes. And I ended up being the host of the Samuel Aquatic Centre, which was absolutely incredible. I loved being there. I loved still having that interaction and still being part of it. So I think that was like the first major competition that happened that I didn't attend as a swimmer, and, that I had retired. And then it kind of went quiet. Like, there's no senior competition until like the World Championships this year in Japan. So it's a long time to kind of go without swimming and the different goals. Not going to lie to you, it's been very tough. I think I've been very lucky that I'm still doing things that I love. But I think being so driven all the time, like you're not going to succeed at everything. And I think for me, one thing that I really wanted to do was start dating again. It's really bad. I can't believe I'm actually admitting it. But, I obviously went on a dating show and I hadn't dated since that show. Like, I haven't been on a real life date in the UK. I'm so scared. I'm so scared of getting my heart broken and it failing, which I think is, many different factors. One's me, one's probably sport, and obviously being elitist at what you do. But I think, I am scared of what's next. And I think it's just a very weird transition. It's very weird.
There's a lot, right? There's a lot in there as well, because you've got it from a professional point of view. And also, biggest just congrats for Commonwealth last year. And being able to like be part of it and show up in a completely different capacity. And I really hear you in terms of like the ambition and the drive, because also when you said this is the first year I'm going into the year where I don't have swimming competitions planned and you don't have a schedule. So also, I'm going to speak from my experience here, is a hell of a lot of fear that comes up, because you've always known, and knowing what you're going to do and knowing when it's going to happen gives you that sense of like, I'm going to say peace/control, right? But you don't have to worry about anything else. And that doesn't mean it's easy, by the way, at all. It's just that it's different. And now coming into this year where you have space, it's like, what do I do with the space?
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to get your head around. And, I think loads of people just said, enjoy a bit of time off, and I want to travel. I'd love to travel. But I think I'm so ambitious that I feel like if I travel and have a holiday, like what am I going to miss out on? What can I be doing? What can I be grinding on something? And that sounds really weird, but you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But yeah, just to really make an impact. And, with swimming, if you do bad at competition, you look to the next one. Whereas kind of with the lows that I'm having now, if I go for an interview or do something which is really great and I get knocked back, it's hard to kind of get back up again and think, well, what is next, So I think it's a hard, no one prepares you for life after sport. And I think that's why so many athletes go on so long and almost try and ride that wave as long as they possibly can. But for me, I have no regrets. I know that my retirement was the right time. I didn't want to be doing it and not enjoying it anymore. I think the minute that spark kind of went, I was like, now's the time. So yeah, I guess we'll see. And I just want to keep putting a smile on people's faces. Like seeing your smile today, like at least I'm giving that some of that smile.
You have an incredible energy. And I know you said it when we sat down to record, but I am just like, I love people's energy, okay? And I get attracted to certain people's energy and I'm very here for it. But It is beautiful and you have so much to give. And I think that when you said that nobody prepares you for life after sport, life as an athlete, and I remember I was speaking to a rugby player quite a while ago actually, and they said a really similar thing. They said that transition into like life is different because your focus and your drive has got you to where you are. And then all of a sudden, you don't need to put in that level of work for that discipline. So where else are you channeling that? And I think I say this, but like my community are high achievers. So everyone listening, I got you. Yeah. So it's tough because I'm never going to say there's a thing as too ambitious, right? But that's because I am. And I'm here for it. And I always constantly want to strive and achieve. But when you're used to constantly doing, and great, I've ticked that off, or great, I achieved that, what's next? And then you don't have that, it can send you into such a state of fear because you're like, and then it will trigger like your feelings of like, am I worth enough? Am I valuable enough? And it's a lot, like it's a lot to contend with.
Yeah, I think, there's going to be highs and lows. And I think from sports highs and lows, you come away from a massive games competition where you've got an athlete's village, you're eating together, you're all sleeping together, you're just on this massive high, coming back to the UK when it's raining and dark in the mornings and you're waking up and doing, pushing your body beyond anything that, I have done since I retired. Honestly, I think I'll never be as fit as I was because, some of the sets and sessions that I've done, 10 400s, off 430, it was just insane work that, it's dark to get back to the lows and get back at training and start all over again. So I feel like you're going to have those highs and lows, but, you've got to find that medium of enjoying every day and remembering why you started.
Definitely And I think one thing I was gonna just add or come back to that you said, because we're going to talk about dating, we are is when you said as well the feeling of like you want to travel, but then you're traveling, you're like, am I gonna miss out? And I really resonate with that because even so, my business is 2 years old. I feel like my poor listeners will be so fed up of me hearing this because I talk about the business all the time. And there's been so many different phases in it where I've had to like relearn something or say like, I've been through this lesson already. Like, why are we redoing it? And actually that I remember as well thinking, oh, shall I go away or shall I not? And I was like, I work all the time. You can work from anywhere. But it was, all right, if I get face-to-face work, I want to be here. And then it's shifting your whole entire mindset to say, okay, what's meant for me is not going to pass. And I trust that I'm exactly where I need to be. And it's just reminded. So when you say as well, it's like finding the joy and like being grateful for those moments and trusting. But that's scary when you're walking into the unknown.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, couldn't agree more. Just going to agree with you.
So where are you at so far in terms of dating?
I've joined some dating apps.
Okay, this is good.
For me is a big step because I always said I'd never join a dating app.
What was the reason behind that? Why were you against it in the beginning?
I don't like judging people. And I feel like sometimes on the apps you can judge very easily. As well, like, you know, being in the shape of my life to, you know, some of the pictures that I've got are great and I'm not exactly 8-pack anymore. So I feel like, you know, I'd much rather meet people in person, but I think it's nice to see what's out there. And yeah, it's a massive kind of fear that I've had of, what if you do find someone that you like and are they going to break your heart? And that's what's always running through my mind, which I've just tried to scale it back and just enjoy the process. Take a leaf out of my own book, you know.
Like apply the professional to the love life. And also as well, the thing, I'm going to give you 2 success stories because I feel like this will really hype you up, and then I'll let you in on a secret. So I've actually never been on a dating app, so yeah, I'm going to live vicariously through you. So I'm like, do you and have fun, okay? But the other thing, I also have 2 friends that are now married and they met on, before the apps we have now, they met on Tinder. So Tinder used to be cool, right? I don't think anyone uses it anymore.
Oh no, that's the app I've joined.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Damn it.
Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I don't know, okay? Yeah. I'm not in the know. I'm like, damn, I put my foot in it. But my point is they're married and they're happy. Wow. So it works, okay?
Yeah.
But it is that thing around like the fear of like, I say this as well, but you can take a risk, right? I'm going to assume you've taken many risks in your professional life and been able to get to that level. And sometimes heartbreak is like the hardest thing we ever have to deal with. But I always say like we all have to have our journey and go through it. And is being vulnerable or being open and standing in your authenticity for somebody else scary and vulnerable, and may they break your heart? Hell yes. But is it also part of like your journey? Like if you have to go through it, for sure. But I also say like switch it around and be like, well, what's the cost if I don't?
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to sound really snobby here, but I'm so precious with my time. Like I really value my time. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know if I have time to date, but I think, you know, I know that I will, and I know that I should just embrace it. But ultimately just, yeah, I think I want every date to be good. And it's that pressure of it might not be, and that's okay, you know?
I think as well, yeah. I actually don't think that's snobby. I think that's you valuing your time. I don't think that's bad. I think it might be a slight, what do you call it? Protection to say, okay, if it's good, I'm going to go. But you don't know if it's going to be good.
You don't know.
Yeah, you've got to take a little bit of a risk, right?
It's true.
But it's also the innate thing of you, like, you know, to do well for things to go well. So it is that balance, and it's just a whole new world. So I'm going to say do it in the way that you want to do it, and the way that's going to make you feel good. And you're going to figure out your own way of doing it.
No, definitely. I'll keep you posted on how I go.
I'm looking forward to these stories. I'm so looking forward to it. So in terms of where you're at now, what do you see as like, what's next? What would you like to kind of bring in, cultivate, or focus on in this like brand new chapter of Michael?
Yeah, I think just enjoy every day. You know, I think there'll be highs, there'll be lows, there'll be knockbacks, but I think I just want to be present, get myself out there more. You know, like now diet's not really a massive priority. Like don't have to eat super healthy every day. I can drink an odd glass of wine now and again. So I think it's quite nice that, yeah, I just live my life away from sport and own it. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what is next.
I love that. The door is open. We are so ready for that chapter. I absolutely love it. I want to say the biggest thank you. Now, before we wrap up, I always ask every guest 3 questions.
Yeah.
So it can be anything that you've said already in the episode, or it can be something completely brand new. So first thing is, what's one of your like favorite quotes or words of wisdom that you want to leave us with?
Oh, is anyone a Harry Potter fan? Because I love the quote from Dumbledore. Happiness can be found in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. That really helped me get through swimming and the highs and lows. And yeah, I think if you really process it, and if you're a Harry Potter fan, then you'll love it.
Okay, I am smiling. We've got a team over here that's jumping for joy about Harry Potter, and I just can't not look at them. And also, my partner is like Harry Potter mad, and I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I feel like you nailed that one. I'm not even going to add anything.
Mic drop.
Yeah, like that's it. We're done. Okay, a practical tip that you want to leave our listeners with about anything.
Oh, so I think when I was in call rooms for different competitions, like before I went out into the arenas, I always used to try and copy what other athletes were doing who were successful, like listening to music or doing something that someone else does. But pressure for me, I was always really nervous, and sometimes it made me crumble when I went and dove into the water. So I think one exercise that I tried to do, and I always done before I competed in the last 2 years of my career, was breathing exercises. I used to lie down in the middle of the call room where all the athletes were preparing. There were still the cameras like on the walls, and I used to just lie down, close my eyes, and just do a breathing exercise just to focus on what's important. Imagine all my muscles are sinking into the floor, and when I sat up, rather than thinking about a bad outcome or what the end result was going to be, I was in the present, and I knew how many strokes I was going to do that first length, and I knew exactly what I was there to do. So I think no matter what industry you're in, whatever office or work job you have, I think anyone can take that forward just to, get rid of that pressure and just to really almost that inner zen, that inner, what's the word I'm looking for? Just inner confidence, let it come out.
Also, as you were saying that, I don't know why I start a new conversation at this stage of the podcast, but we're here for it. When you talked about you breathe and then you come up and then how many strokes you're going to do in that length, and also as well as the power of visualization. And I feel that as athletes, it's such a strong technique that a lot of you, I think, use to visualize like, this is how it's going to go and I'm in control of this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think before I swim a 200 butterfly at competition, I've swum it 100 times in my head already, and that already helps my nerves, my pressure, I think it's so important. I love visualization.
Oh, powerful. And my last and final question is, what's either like a TV show, a book, a podcast episode, or a resource that either has helped you or one that you want to share?
Oh my gosh. So I'm a massive Heartstopper fan. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Written by Alice Oseman, and it's basically an amazing series where this boy, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a little bit of a love story. It's kind of your true identity, coming to understand yourself, being maybe gay, being just whoever you are. And it's so rewarding. It's, I think not sure. The season 2 is currently being filmed at the minute, which I'm really excited about. But amazing cast, amazing crew. I think it's just an amazing story. So, no matter what age you are, I think, lots of people think it's for the younger age, but it's for anyone just to help inspire you to be your true, proud self.
I am going to go and watch it. So thank you for that one. Michael, you are an absolute dream. I am so excited for this next chapter for you. And I just have a feeling that lots of beautiful new things are going to be welcomed in. And I'm excited for you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. And we'll keep in touch for sure.
Definitely.